Good morning everybody, and welcome to our latest video post coming from the grounds and gardens at Blarney Castle. Really this week we wanted just to bring you back into the Himalayan Valley because there's so much great colour here at the moment. It's looking fabulous, and on a day like today it really does, hopefully we can do it justice anyway with the videos, because the photos that we're kind of posting give little insights, but really to walk through it you need to see, better to visit, let's say, than just looking at a little image. So this is the closest we can get a lot of you. We are now open to the public within a 5-kilometre range of the grounds and gardens, and obviously it's great to see some of you back in the gardens, but for those of you that aren't able to visit, we're going to continue the tours and as much postings as we can to still try and bring you into the gardens. So we're going to give a tour now through kind of a loop of the Himalayan Valley. Paul, our social media marketing manager, is doing the filming, and I'm going to step back for a good part of it and really let the plants do the talking, but I will stop here and there just to maybe show you a few of my favourites or things I think are particularly good. So we'll just start moving, I think, Paul. This rhododendron you see before you was a very large overgrown specimen, and when we started putting in the Himalayan Valley, we said, well, wouldn't it be great to kind of run a path through the centre of the rhododendron and up through the banks. So for the first 2 or 3 years nothing else was established enough to kind of make it worth putting the path in, but now a lot of the shrubs have grown on and are starting to get up, so we've opened up these paths last year, and now you get this effect of being in amongst the plants as opposed to standing at the bottom of the hill looking up at them. There really are some magnificent rhododendrons. Just to show you the scale of these flowers, I'm putting my hand up against them. Many of these are unknown. They were here previously and we renovated them, and we're still trying to get identification of some of the more unusual species. And you can see this is very much a wild garden. This is supposed to be really a representation of an overgrown Himalayan woodland and forest areas. And I was lucky enough to visit Sikkim and Vietnam over the last few years, and my perception or ideas of what a garden should look like changed dramatically after I got back. So sometimes you have to see something to really appreciate it. You can see the likes of our native foxgloves and the bracken coming in, and we allow these to become part of the gardens, and very much so through the entire gardens. We garden in a Robinsonian way here. It's a term that's used to really show when you let the wilderness come in a little bit and it almost to become part of the gardens themselves, which obviously is great for biodiversity and wildlife. Rhododendron arboreum, Cornish red, that we see just above our heads This we think dates from the 1880s, 1890s, which was the time that the mansion house was built, and it's one of the best specimens probably in Europe. Very early in flower, so it's out before most of the other rhododendrons, and you'd still see some remnants, but now really once we get to this stage the rest of the rhododendrons are taking over the show. But this is still an impressive specimen in its own right, quite simply just because of the structure. And if Paul pans down, you'll see all the petals on the floor. Now these are fading now, but even as much as a week ago, this was a sea of red. They're just spectacular. The wild garlic and the bluebells form a fabulous sort of undergarment for the rest of the show. One of the great things about the Himalayan walk and many of the other garden areas is these small pathways that kind of divert you round bends and corners, and you never quite know what's going to be round the next corner. And the way we've designed and developed these areas is that it's a journey of discovery. So it's a case of what's the next fabulous thing you're going to see. Now, that's a quick whistle-stop tour of the Himalayan, and just the sheer volume of colour really through it is just spectacular. This backs onto our Belgian beds at one end, which is all the azaleas and rhododendrons, which are also in flower at the moment. And then at the other end, now where I am, we come across the corner of our kitchen garden and it leads through into the woods and into our Vietnamese area. The Himalayan is very much a collection of wild and unusual plants, but the Vietnamese is even more so in that it's an ex situ conservation area. So we have plants in there wild collected in Vietnam that are highly endangered in the wild, and we're hoping that by growing them in here, not only will we possibly even save some of them from extinction, but we'll learn a lot about what we can and can't get away with in regards to temperatures and locations, growth habits. And this can be fed back along with what other botanic gardens find when they try to grow these things that we share with them, they share with us. And we're working with guys in Vietnam to try to establish populations there in national parks of some of the more endangered plants. And the information we feed back to them is obviously extremely useful too. So we have kind of done a whiz through there, and in a few weeks' time when there's more growth, I'd like to bring you back in there and show you that again. But for the time being, I hope you enjoyed that little tour, and we'll see you in a few days' time, hopefully.